And we are live. Tonight is going to be a free and open chat Thursday. Free and open chat. Anybody that wants to can join me live in a video conference here on the stream. All you have to do is install the Zoom chat client, video chat client. Zoom is available in Linux, of course. Also available on Windows, Mac, Android, iOS, probably Chrome OS. I have no idea. But the link should be in the description as far as the link to this particular Zoom video conference. Good audio. Yeah, somebody immediately said good audio. Thank you, Mr. GFY. And of course, that's a little bit of a joke because the last 3 or 4 streams, I've had some serious audio issues. A lot of it due to distro hopping, so we need to calm down a little bit on that. A lot of you guys were in the chat earlier. Paul was here, Katrina, Ice, Lamarck, Dreaming Wolf, Yu-Gi-Oh, of course, GFY, Katrina again, Breadmoth. Says, holy moly, I'm actually early for a DT stream for once. Yeah. Caesar Martinez says hello, but he was not the first one to say hello. You're slipping a little bit, Caesar. Gibran is here. Alan Lewis, how you doing, Alan? Kevin Patel. And a lot of you guys showed up early tonight. All right. Yep. Stacy says, hey Derek. Video conference question mark. Yeah, this basically is for, you know, conference calls. The Zoom client. Think of it as like a video chat client, similar to something like Skype. I don't like Skype. I like Zoom better. It's just a better product. I think the audio and the video is much better in something like Zoom than something like Google Hangouts, for example. So I just prefer to use Zoom. Let's see. All right. Yeah, YouTube notifications actually work this time. Yeah, I have issues with the notifications for the things I am subscribed to or have the bell clicked on, you know, for notifications. Sometimes I get the notifications for the stuff that I'm subscribed to. Sometimes I don't. Yeah, it's just YouTube is broken. There's not much we can do about it. There is no alternative to YouTube, unfortunately. Oh, we've already got somebody joining in here. Looks like it's Ben. How you doing, Ben? How's it going?
Hang on, let me get headphones in because my speakers are on.
Yeah. We'll let you get situated here. Yeah. Let's see, in the chat. Discord is nice when the servers don't go down. Yeah, I actually use Discord too sometimes. I like Discord, you know, just to chat, you know, in game. So.
Tower piece of crap.
See. Yeah, Zoom, wasn't that like an iPod back in the day? Yeah, I think you're right there, Mr. GFY. There was like a competitor to the iPod, little MP3 player called Zoom, I think. John Kennedy says, evening. How you doing, John? Good to see you. Logan's here. And Toby.
This thing really mess with me.
You getting it straight there, Ben?
Oh, finally. Hey, Derek.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. You? I was talking to Mr. GFY in Discord. He was thinking about trying Gentoo. I was like, dude, you're in for a ball of hurt if you do that.
Nah, Gentoo. Well, I mean, it depends on your experience level. Yeah,
I mean, you know, it's not really a ball of hurt. It's just the fact that if you've not done it and you don't read the handbook,
right,
and you don't really have a grasp on how Linux works and the terminal and stuff, it's not for you.
Well, yeah, if the command line scares you, you definitely shouldn't attempt it because so much is going to happen at the command line. So,
yeah, man, and I mean, I've seen you. If you've seen your how-to on it, and you know, it was good, but yeah.
Well, my how-to on it was mainly just to, my how-to really, you know, I didn't really show people how to do too much with Gentoo. It was mainly, the purpose of that was
fun. Yeah.
Well, the purpose was to show people, here's what you do to install anything. You sit down, you read the wiki, right? You follow step by step. It was mainly just to show people the process. Yeah. At the end, I mean, did I have a working Gentoo install? I mean, I did. I didn't install Xorg or a graphical environment, but yeah, I mean, I had Gentoo, at least the base.
You had it working. That's the important thing.
Yeah. How you doing, William?
Fine, DT. Hello, Ben.
No.
Hey,
Dreaming
man.
Wolf. How's it going?
Fine. I've started to try to dual boot Windows and Linux. Is running well now. I'm trying out Debian testing, of course. So it's running well somehow.
Yeah.
And Dreaming Wolf, can you hear us?
I'm typing to typing to Ricky in it.
Well, this is unusual to have one of these Zoom chats, and like everybody that's joined so far, including me, audio's working. This is very unusual.
Yeah, I kind of have a crappy internet connection in my room on my tower, but you know, it's what's working so well.
Yeah, and I'll warn you guys, I may have some internet issues this evening. I'm not sure, so we'll see how it goes. We're just playing it by ear tonight. I had a little free time, and I didn't have anything scheduled. I was like, well, let's just do one of these chats. These are always fun. Yeah. Otherwise, I wasn't going to do anything this evening. I'd worked all day, just got home. Got to get up early tomorrow, so I want to do something that requires absolutely no preparation at all. You know, where I just sit down, I hit start streaming, and we just see what happens. So.
Good point.
Yeah.
So yeah, not much has been happening in the news lately for Linux. Derek,
I noticed that too. Yeah.
Have you heard of JU Linux at all?
JU?
Yes, Just Use Linux. Have you ever heard of it?
No, I've never heard of that one.
I think I might have heard of it once somehow.
Yeah, I am on the development team of that actually. And
nice, Ben. Way to get on the dev team. Sorry to interrupt, but way to get onto it.
Well, I volunteered some time to contribute to the project, and it is up on SourceForge. We don't have a Git repository yet on GitHub or GitLab. I did talk to Justin Breidup, the developer of it, the head developer, that is. I'm just the co-developer, and he said that's something we will think about in the future. It's not like a have-to-have thing right now. However, we have just built, it's based off of Ubuntu Mate 1804 right now, and basically the philosophy behind it is to make an XP-like interface on top of it because we want it to be super simple for newbie users to come over from Mac or Windows to Linux without much learning curve behind it. They want to make it that easy. That's the point.
My question,
but that's really the goal of so many Linux distros is, you know, we're trying to cater to these Windows and Mac users. I mean, that's kind of the goal for most desktop Linux.
In JU Linux, and we have in JU Linux a GNOME XP-like interface. So that way we make it like so slimmed down that, you know, it's 100% free. So yeah.
So
my question for Ben is, sorry. Oops, sorry.
Yeah, I was just asking. What's slim down about it, Ben? If it's GNOME,
basically, we have a finish install program that installs. You know, it comes with LibreOffice, Chromium, Firefox, Safari, not Safari, but SeaMonkey, the Mozilla build. So basically, it comes with some base software for the newbie to get started, along with the XP theme. It's not 100% looking like XP. It's just a custom theme that Justin wrote. So yeah.
Right.
And I made the 32-bit. He made the 64-bit, just to cater to all users, that sort of thing. And you know, and we have a finish installer prompt that installs Google Chrome and a couple of other things that the user can pick, but usually it just gives you a yes or no prompt. And that's the only thing really in the terminal that they have to do. And then we have a couple of shortcuts on the desktop to the software boutique, simple scan, things like that. So, and a donation link if people want to donate and get support if they want, you know, things like that. So, you know, just making it very simple, not overly complicated. It's, you know, just as easy as Linux is going to get, basically.
Well, I'll have to check that out at some point then.
Yeah,
like I said, I've never heard of it until now.
Yeah, like I said, it's based off Ubuntu Mate 1804. It's very tiny niche, very simple, basic. You know, Backyard Tech from Australia. He's another friend of mine. I've been in his live streams a couple times late at night, and he's pretty cool. He did a video about it, and he was pretty dang well impressed. So, yeah, if he was impressed, I'm sure you.
Sorry to interrupt. Sorry.
Go ahead.
In fact, I wanted to interject and say that Ben, looks like you already answered a question of mine I had to ask you. You already answered the question already, so there's no need for me to ask that question. No.
Go ahead.
Question was, I wonder what JU Linux is based off of, because I didn't know it was going to be based off of something else, or it's going to be based off of Debian.
It's
so it's like you already answered that question.
I said, it's Ubuntu Mate 1804 based.
Okay, so it already answers that. So that's it for now for that question.
Yeah, I would expect pretty much any distro aimed at brand new users. I would expect it to be either Ubuntu based or maybe Debian based. That's kind of where all of them end up.
Yeah, Debian based is probably the most common, if anything.
Yeah, because you want things that don't break for the brand new user. If they have to fix anything, you're losing them, and they're going to run back to Windows. So.
Yeah, if the distro breaks at all, then it's lost cause.
Right. Well, yeah, for the new user, not for us.
So, okay, sorry to interrupt. I just learned that it's actually, I just think I find it easier for me to dual boot rather than having to wipe Windows clean. Largely due to because I know DistroTube and Ben use Linux themselves, but I think I made it clear before that most of my Windows games are DRM proprietary, so I really can't go between Windows and Linux too much without messing up the DRM, because the DRM checks using the same machine or more than once, it'll probably reach the limit if you do it too many times.
Right. If you have to dual boot to game, you should probably just plan on always gaming in Windows to avoid any, strangeness as far as, hopping between Linux and Windows because of the DRM.
That's just, it's actually on the side of the company that puts the DRM in the games to begin with. As I mentioned, SecuROM is one that will make sure that you're using the same, make sure it has a machine limit. If you reach the limit, it'll lock out. That's basically what that is. Now, for as the Linux games are DRM free, but I can still think that it's not, the statement is half baked, because most of the PC games for Linux may have anti-cheating software that's proprietary in Windows and Linux, but still, it's not really considered full DRM free if a Linux game has a massive multiplayer online component with the anti-cheat software embedded in it. It's proprietary. That's my issue with that.
Right.
If the DRM are machine-based, shouldn't the hardware IDs be the same whether you're in Linux or Windows?
Not quite. Dreaming Wolf, to answer your question, the primary example is SecuROM is the DRM that one of my games in Windows is proprietary. It checks to see that I'm using the same machine. But if I formatted Windows several times, it'll say they've reached a licensing limit. It may think it comes from a different computer than the same one.
So it's not based on the hardware, it's based on the software IDs.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. I do want to answer a quick question. Somebody in the chat was asking me about the laptop behind me. What was it running? It's running Arco Linux, their BSPWM edition. And then I got a strange question. Why am I running Arco rather than pure Arch? Because I wanted to check out Arco.
And it's a lot easier.
I know what Arch is about. I've installed Arch plenty of times. I wanted to check out Arco. So that's the answer to that question.
And I got to add a start. You did a wonderful review on BSPWM, and that was the version that I was going to load on my system for the Big Daddy Linux challenge this week.
Yeah, and I didn't join the Big Daddy Linux guys this past Saturday because I wasn't home. And I didn't realize they were going to do Arco this week. So I've already got the Arco if I'm able to catch them Saturday night. So, but DSPWM, yeah, I never even played with that window manager until I made that video. So it really wasn't much of an in-depth look at the window manager itself. But as far as Arco as a project,
really make me want to do it, because I downloaded like 4 or 5 of the ISOs, and that is definitely the one I'm going to use now.
But I mean, how cool is it that it's a 15-minute install, start to finish? At the end, you have a configured tiling window manager, not one that I have to write, you know, some weird cryptic config file. I mean, Eric Dubois has done all the work for me.
Exactly.
But he put so much stuff in it that it's real easy to remove stuff. And then starting with a complete blank slate, especially for somebody new to tiling window managers, you know, they fear that kind of stuff. I really like where he's going with what he's doing.
DistroTube, I wanted to chime in and ask. Yep. I saw your videos you uploaded about Ghost BSD, and I was like, is it me or is DistroTube having bad luck with BSD? Because I've had the most successful luck running PCBSD and FreeBSD, but to Ben's surprise, I was able to compile a desktop on FreeBSD at one point, but I can't do it anymore. But I was able to build a KDesktop environment 3 out of the ports on FreeBSD completely from scratch.
Well, I spent 5 days with Ghost BSD installed on a second drive. 3 days. I mean, I spent all day for like 3 solid days trying to get stuff to work, and I got most of my problems solved, but there were some things I just couldn't get solved. And then when I asked some BSD guys, you know, about the problems, they're like, oh yeah, USB devices can always be a problem. Oh yeah, I never could get my mic to work. Oh yeah, you know. And I'm like, well, why are you guys running this? You know, somebody should have warned me ahead of time if it was
because
all
it's pure.
Well, I didn't know either, man.
But anyway, yeah, Ghost BSD, I actually enjoyed trying to fix all the problems in it. It wasn't like a waste of an experience. But yeah, ultimately, if I can't get, you know, like the USB webcam, USB mic to work, you know, I can't do what I want to do.
Right, I know.
Right.
Well, my webcam works. Well, I could get my webcam to work in BSD either, and there was a webcam D program you could install that would fix that, but it's kind of it's driver specific, like someone said in the chat.
Well, I was able to, you know, at first the webcam was acting goofy on me. It wasn't working half the time. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. I want to say eventually I got the webcam to work 100% of the time. I forget what needed to be installed.
Yeah.
It escapes me now. It's not important now because I've already wiped off that drive. But I never could get the mic. I never had audio through this microphone ever.
My FreeBSD, like pure full-on FreeBSD with KD4 had it. But the problem I had was no webcam.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, ultimately, living those 5 for me was how far behind it is compared to Linux on the desktop. I mean, it's like Linux 15 years ago. That's how far behind.
My question for DT is my biggest question is, what makes you want to try all the rolling distros despite the fact that they're putting the breakage?
For purposes of this channel, when they break, I have to fix them, and it's fun for you guys to watch things break.
Geez.
If I install Debian stable, Debian stable, you know that's going to run until, you know, Debian 10 comes out 3 years down the road, whenever.
I wouldn't give it that long.
No, it's not that long. Yeah, Buster will be out, I don't know, what, next year.
My biggest question for Ben is, how are you able to handle rolling Gentoo despite the fact that when I installed it at one point, I had a working desktop, but I managed to decompile the entire desktop in reverse by doing something silly, and I didn't exactly.
Well, I'm gonna put it this way: unless you do this one command, which is a merge dash capital C $, you know, parentheses dash CI, and the name of the package that controls the desktop, it's almost damn near impossible to get rid of your desktop. I mean, honestly.
I did mine.
Well, I got it, but...
Well, you know, sometimes people do. Sometimes
I
people
got
do
it,
copy and paste things in a terminal that they shouldn't do.
Right.
I've seen that.
I mainly type something in trying to emerge something.
Yeah. Well,
Sorry.
Gentoo is a very sensitive system. You know.
Yeah, I mean, you have two options. You can either have Xorg working, or you can run Gentoo. Those are your two options.
Right. That's the best way to look at it. Getting Xorg stable.
Yeah. I've never had Xorg not break on me if I did any Gentoo-based distro long enough. Eventually, an update's gonna break Xorg.
Yeah. Yeah, any Gentoo update can break something. That's just the way it is. Unless you have like some screwed up hellbound use flag or some conglomeration that you just don't know what's wrong, you're probably gonna be fine. But I mean, if you just have the wrong use flag or something, just completely off the charts, and you don't follow the handbook and you don't follow the wiki pages, you should be fine. I mean,
and the truth is, most people don't need to be running Gentoo unless you're going to take use of those use flags. Unless you really want to build your own packages or compile your own packages, there's no reason to even run Gentoo. I mean, for 99% of desktop users, they're not going to be able to get the full power out of something like Gentoo.
No, they're not.
Right, so.
Unless you're a hardcore Linux power user, there's no honest to God reason to run Gentoo.
Right.
Or a masochist.
Yeah, you could. I can see that.
Yeah.
By the way, been in DistroTube, but what if you don't trust pre-compiled software that someone else compiled?
Well,
that's probably
Well, then I can understand that being a reason to use Gentoo, but pre-compiled software, if you're sort of software safe like that, then I can understand wanting to run Gentoo.
I mean, you compile your own software from the AUR, and there was malware in the AUR a week ago.
Exactly.
So, pre-compiled software in any distro, they must supply you with the source code or able to supply you somehow with the source code. So you can use the binary. Or in distro, you can compile your own anyway.
Yeah, I trust anything from like a core repo, like a core Ubuntu repo or Arch repo. I mean, I have to trust their packages anyway. I mean,
right? If you don't trust,
then you shouldn't be on that distro.
Game on Windows.
Right. Exactly.
Right, and
Right. It sounds like we've got more people in the chat in the stream. Nice.
And Will, you know what? Because I feel so bad for you that your install of Gentoo broke, I would be willing to do you a huge favor and run you back through it, if that's where...
Well, I actually, the install of Gentoo that I did on the channel, just the base install, I still have that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, I didn't... I was talking about, I've had Calculate break on me. I've had Sabian break on me a few times.
Yeah. So it's not unheard of that he broke it, basically.
Yeah.
Oh, God, no.
Well, I'm still using VirtualBox, of course, anyway, to try out some other Linux systems in. I just somehow wanted to do that. Now, as far as I've mentioned before on Total Us Today's live stream, that I had Debian testing break one night. After I created it, everything was trashed. Like the networking didn't work because the network package was removed. Desktop environment got ripped out. The graphical logging got ripped out and left me with a partially usable system that I couldn't.
How do you even break this stuff? I mean, it's the weirdest.
It was accidental. I tried to do an upgrade and everything, and it went fine. Like the upgrade was supposed to go fine.
I mean,
stuff got ripped.
You've got worse luck than most people I've met. I mean, I'm not being critical or making fun of you. I'm just saying,
I've wrecked some systems.
Stuff, you know, the only reason I could even break something is if I distro hop, maybe. But, typically I'm not that bad with Linux.
Yeah, I've wrecked some systems.
Testing because the testing branch had some bugs in it. There were some bugs already in there that I was aware of.
Hey, William,
I didn't know if you're going to.
William, what's the name of that branch again?
Testing.
Okay,
testing.
I just wanted to make sure. They named that for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. And the way I look at it, you know, testing is nice, and it does have more up-to-date software and things, but, you know, I would rather run stable and worry about less breakages with that.
But what if you want a newer Firefox and it takes forever to get the newer one? Like Firefox Quantum's an unstable now, but the stable and testings only have the ESR versions.
Right.
Yeah, in the chat, Brad Moth is asking, is SID more unstable than testing? Yeah, SID is actually the unstable branch, and yes, it is much more unstable than testing. Testing, they actually do some testing with the packages to make things, you know, unstable is Wild West, very bleeding edge. It might work, it might not. Install at your own risk. So.
Yeah, you install the testing version or the SID version at your own choice.
Right.
But wait a minute. My question for DistroTube and Ben is, why is Seduction based off of unstable and that's still able to be used as a regular day-to-day basis? Why?
Well, it would be used for a day-to-day basis for an experienced user. Seduction, no new Linux user needs to be running Seduction. It's basically just Debian unstable with a easier install, you know.
Arch can break on you too. Arch can also be unstable just like that.
Yeah.
Arch is different though. Arch and Gentoo are different because everybody that runs Arch or Gentoo, they're all on the unstable version because that's the only thing they offer is a rolling release version. Yeah. Debian has a stable branch. That's really where they expect most people to be. They really don't expect most people to be living in unstable. It's run at your own risk again. That's And if you run it, you need to be your own support network sometimes for that.
Arch and Gentoo are run at your own risk type things as well, aren't they?
Yeah, but the entire community is running it at their own risk, and if you need help, you know, for your problems, you're going to get it quick in Gentoo or Arch. Where in Debian, SID, you may not.
The problem with those communities is both sides of the coin. If you don't already put in forth of the effort,
right? Read the wiki first.
If you don't
read the wiki first,
they're not going to do it all for you.
But Das Geek is my hero. I don't read the manual.
You know what? And I will defend the Arch guys a little bit and the Gentoo guys. I have both the Arch wiki and the Gentoo wiki bookmarked, and I recommend every Linux user, no matter what distro you run, have the Arch wiki and the Gentoo wiki bookmarked. They are fantastic. You can find all your answers.
Distros, you can probably find the answer to your question.
Exactly. I don't know how many times I've went to the Arch wiki without running Arch. You know, I'm running, you know, Debian or Fedora or whatever I happen, you know, but I find the answer in the Arch wiki.
Yep.
That's how good it is.
Yep.
Well, I can no longer do a Gentoo install after the fact that because I did a recent install just not that long ago this year, and I got the system installed, but I couldn't get the networking to start automatically, so I had to try to find a way to do it. Yeah. But I did get the system installed. I was able to log in, but I kind of screwed up the password for root and screwed up for the networking. So those are the two things that I wrecked on my own, but I was still able to boot run.
Will, what OS was this?
Yeah. And how did you screw up the password?
Gentoo.
Oh, dude.
I forgot to. What I failed to do was I failed to set it before I logged out of the root environment, and I irresponsibly locked myself out of the root part, but I was able to get in as a regular user, but I also failed to get the network to load automatically, so I couldn't get that either, so I kind of
well, what you could have done was booted back into the USB and then re-root it in and mount all the drives back up and etc. And then type in password, you know, root, and then, you know, you could have fixed it. You didn't have to wipe it.
Right.
I was like, I should have probably just fixed it before I logged out. But the step I always fumble on is, okay, now I know that DistroTube's drinking. Okay, a beer, of course. But what I failed to say is, sorry, I got sidetracked. Sorry. What I meant to say is that I usually follow the handbook, but I fail to unmount or exit sometimes, and I also fail to set the time zone, which it tells you to do.
Right. Well, that doesn't matter if you fail to unmount the drives. That's okay. But the point is,
The time zone part, I goof that up pretty easily, and that's why I get strange time zone future errors when trying to compile software.
You can always reset that once you're booted
Yeah,
in.
you can go back and change the time zone. That's an easy fix. Yeah.
But it seems to do like an etc time zone file copy thing that I screw up sometimes.
Yeah, you just go back to /etc, whatever the name of that file is, and you just set the right time zone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not that hard.
Resetting your password is quite easy. If you boot your machine off the glove stanza and you add a 1 at the end of the boot stanza, it boots into init 1 and you will go straight into a root account.
Yeah.
You type password at that root account, PASSWD, set your root password. Then you can go to init 3 or init 5 after that, and you're fine. As for your network, not starting up boot, if you're running system D, it's system control service network start, and that should start your network straight up.
Yeah.
By the way, Allstar, and Ben, I wanted to tell you that I never do system D and Gentoo. I always use the default run system. I never do the system for 2 reasons.
Get the system control bit, just do service network start, then that should be fine for upstart or sysb unit.
Right. Well, what it is in Gentoo is it's /etc/initd/ whatever, and then you're good to go.
I got the hang of the installation. I mean, I just screw up the time zone inadvertently, and I get that screwed up. So other than that, that's fine.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, Will. I will do you a favor. If you want me to, I'll run you through the Gentoo install process with the time zone, and would that help you?
That's fine. The time zone part, I get a little screwed. I kind of just wanted to clarify because I wanted to ask how Ben does the time zone thing. It tells you got to copy a file or something, but I get confused by the different time zone files.
Yeah, that's not how you do it. Let me just pull up the
It's all in the handbook. If you read the Gentoo handbook, it's laid out.
I'll just
step by step through the install.
Yeah, let me just find the article that he's looking for.
While Ben is finding the article, let's get some of the other folks in. Let's Alan, is your audio working?
I believe so.
Yep, you're working.
And my friend,
welcome, Alan.
My friend Ricky on Hangouts has been trying.
Hello, Alan.
Yep.
Hey,
and Drone, has you got a...
Hi, guys.
Hey.
Hi, Drone.
Wow, this is amazing. Everybody's audio was working. Kerwin?
Hi, Edwin.
Yep, Kerwin is here.
I can hear you, Kerwin.
And finally, Edwin.
It's hard to hear. Sorry, it's hard to hear multiple people trying to address me at one time. Sorry, due to a lot of people being in here.
It's Edwin.
Sorry.
Is my audio okay?
Yes, we're 9 for 9.
Yep.
That's a perfect score.
I have a question. Does anybody have any problems with loading Bluetooth adapters in Linux?
Well, Kerwin, I don't have Bluetooth, so I'm sorry, I can't tell you.
Sometimes.
I have a Bluetooth headset, and yes, it can happen. If you're not using Pulse Audio and you have a Bluetooth headset, it's just not going to work.
Oh, I've got a little USB Bluetooth adapter that I've plugged into the side of the laptop because the laptop doesn't have Bluetooth natively. And I've plugged it in. I've removed Blueberry, which was the default Bluetooth software, and then I've removed Blueman and I've reinstalled Blueman, and it still can't find the USB adapter.
What distro?
Linux Mint 19.
Okay, dude. The problem is that removing that is, you see, I don't really use Mint, so it's kind of hard for me to help fix it. But the trick is,
think removing the package removes some other stuff too, some dependencies maybe you needed.
Removing Blueberry may have screwed something up.
All right.
So, honestly, I would just reinstall that. And, that's the best shot you got. I'm sure the other guys in the panel would say, that's probably the best solution you've got. Because, Mint is so, make it super easy that they just don't, they don't really allow. This is one of the flaws of Ubuntu. They always throw some extra dependencies in there that you don't know about. that just make it such a pain in the neck for the.
You'd be surprised in Ubuntu and Ubuntu-based distros. You know, certain packages you want to uninstall can uninstall like the entire desktop environment sometimes. I mean, seriously.
How are you?
Yeah.
My take on it is if you do an LS USB to see if it's actually been registered on the USB bus, if so, note down what it's called, and then you can do an LS mod to see if there's any modules actually being loaded to put in the first place.
Okay.
How you doing, Tim?
Derek. How's my mic coming through?
Yeah, you're might be a hair low, but you're good.
Well, Tim, nice to see you again on DistroTube's live stream.
Nice to see you. How does that sound, Derek?
Yeah, that's a little better.
Cool.
Well, Tim, there's Kerwin. Okay, Tim, I have a question for you. My question is, are you still using the same distro? Because I've noticed, I don't know, this is my question to the Linux users. What is your favorite distro, and what makes you really like to stick with that one distro? Like, what makes you really like it?
Well,
I mean,
this is not the right crowd to ask. Yeah, because none of us probably stick to the same distro very long. This is the wrong crowd.
Yeah. Well,
this is the wrong crowd to ask something like that.
Well, you know, I'll reply to William. Right off the bat, I stick with deb-based distros. I'm not an RPM guy or, you know, Fedora, Opensuse, anything like that. I stick with deb-based distros. I'm very, very fond of Elementary, and I'm very, very fond of Pop OS.
Pop OS is nice. Pop OS is nice.
Yep. But the problem I've had as of recently, the folks that kind of follow Toss or Derek or any of the chats that I'm in, 18.04 base stuff is just I'm having a pain in the butt with my hardware. It seems to run good for a couple of days. Right now, I am actually on Ubuntu 16.04.4 with a Unity desktop. I'm kind of doing the nostalgic thing, and it runs perfectly. It runs great. Yeah, it's Unity. People can, you know, have their own opinions on that, but you know what? It's solid and it works. For me,
you know, I'm the same with Linux Mint 19 Tara. It just works. I've got it on my Lappy. I've got it on an old desktop, and it works beautifully. The only problem I'm having is the Bluetooth on my laptop.
Yeah, I have MX17 running on all my laptops, and I've had no issues at all.
My big question for the crowd here is, everyone's hardware setup is different, I've noticed. And the thing with me is that now, speaking on a perspective, I used to have a Bluetooth adapter back in 2009 that was a IO Gear Bluetooth adapter that ran in Linux and Windows very well. I just somehow, I don't get, some of the hardware, I'm starting to question that some of the hardware is proprietary. Some of it is, meaning some of the drivers are not available for Linux. Some are. It's a both ways type thing.
I've got an IO Gear USB Bluetooth adapter that I tried too, and I went to the IO Gear website, and they only have drivers for Windows. There's no Linux drivers.
Yeah, and to Tim's point, if he's having problems with a lot of 1804 based distros, because they're all running the same kernel.
Yeah.
So you might try a different kernel. Go back to one of the previous LTS kernels.
Well, I did an LS USB, and it came up, and it shows my USB, my Bluetooth adapter with a device, with a bus number, a device ID, and it gives me the name of the dongle, the Cambridge Silicon Radio Limited Bluetooth Dongle HCI mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, what I would do is jump back one LTS kernel like Derek DT said.
So Ubuntu shipped with 4.15. I think the previous LTS was 4.14. You might try there. If not, go back to 4.9. I think was the LTS before that.
And you know what?
Best bet, you know, I would say is probably that, you know, to get that headset working, your best shot is is to probably go with an older kernel. And I always recommend the LTS kernels. That way, it's not, bleeding edge. Because sometimes the bleeding edge kernels, it's sad to say, it's just not, where you need to be.
Because when 1804 came out, the 4.15 was like brand new too for a kernel. So.
I can verify on
the
it.
other option is
I'm running
software called the Ubuntu kernel update utility.
Yep.
And if you, because once I got onto 4.16 and now 4.17, the issues I was having with 1804 vanished.
Yeah.
I can confirm if I was the type of guy to play around, fart around with everything under the hood on a distro. I did play with the Ubuntu kernel utility, and on 1804, bone stock Ubuntu 1804, running the GNOME desktop environment. I jumped back to the 4. I think I actually went back to 4.12 or 4.13. Whatever not the previous LTS, the LTS prior to that.
Well, I'm running 4.14 kernel is what I'm running here.
Yeah, I'm running 4.14.
Yep.
And I've just done ls mod.
And it corrected it.
Yeah. Even though I'm on Gen 2, I'm on 4.14. My Bluetooth works fine. So if you're on 4.14 and Ubuntu, that's where I would go, because yes, it's the LTS kernel, but I've had better luck with that than anything.
Although I'm not running Ubuntu or any kind of Debian based, I've just done a grep against ls mod for Bluetooth, and I'm running RFCam, BNet, BT USB, BT Intel, BT DCM, and BT RTL. But yeah, my Bluetooth is up and running. So if you go into Azure and type lsmod grep blue, pipe it and grep blue, you should be able to see the new modules loaded for your Bluetooth device.
Okay.
Yeah, do a lsmod, then the little pipe thing about the slash, and then the then type do a grep pipe Bluetooth, and that should help. I'm not 100% sure, but sometimes something will go in the air and out the other. So whoever just suggested you do that, I don't remember things like a snap. That's the problem.
Yeah.
That's all right. Yeah, sometimes.
And Kerwin, about the Bluetooth problems, as I said earlier, you might just check the Arch wiki.
Right.
Some of that stuff. See what's the Arch guys. They usually have solutions to.
Right.
My big question for Ben is, how do you dual boot Gentoo and Windows together? How do you do that?
Okay, I really should make a how-to video on this kind of thing. I've been meaning
hey, how's it going?
I'm doing good. Hi, Ben.
Hey, Ricky. How are you, buddy?
Hello, Ricky.
Fine. Took me long enough that I was able to finally get the thing working.
Yeah. Okay.
I couldn't get this thing to work on Chrome, so I tried it on Firefox, and would you know it, it works.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
All right, hold on. Let me answer your question first before I jump to a conclusion. What I would do, dude, is I would hang on, give me a second. I would use a program called either Paragon, because that's usually giving me the best luck, their hard disk manager. Or I would the Windows built-in utility has never worked for me properly. Either that or just boot up a live CD and use or USB and use Gparted. One of the two.
Gparted, yeah.
Yeah, Gparted is the one I would trust more. But if you can't get that to work, I would use Paragon Paragon hard disk utility for Windows.
Yeah, I would just keep a live USB stick of Ubuntu handy at all times anyway, whether you use Ubuntu or not, just because for a live USB, it's got Gparted and
especially if someone
boot rescue and all that, just.
Exactly. I would use I would download Ubuntu first, then flash it to a drive, all 9 yards, boot it up, shrink the drive, then install Gentoo. But make sure you select ext4, because I've never done any other file system on top of Linux, because you never know, something can go wrong and break unless you use X4. That's just the way I've looked at it. Okay. I mean, sure, you can select another file system. That's not a problem. It's just, Linux most commonly works 99% of the time best with a ext4 system. That's just the way I look at
it. Hey, Tim F. How did you like that elementary beta? You tried it out?
Yeah, I actually I downloaded it, and when I was in transition, going back to Ubuntu 16.04, I ran the beta, albeit I didn't have a lot of time. It's been a hectic week.
Right.
I ran it for about 45 minutes or so. For me, the big thing is that when this thing comes out, I want to make sure that there's a tweak tool available.
Right. Yeah.
So I wanted to install it to hardware, and then go in and grab the tweak tool from Juno is the newest one. I think Loki is .4, I think.
Yeah, 0.4 was the previous version of elementary, and the next one's 5.0. They're doing something weird with the versioning numbers.
Yeah, correct. And so what I did was I went out and I found the tweak tool for .4 for the current stable release, installed that, and all the most of the functionality in that worked. But the one thing that I love elementary. I like what they're doing. I like the attitude they're taking with the applications. The pay as you can.
Oh, I love the App Center.
I think they're doing an awesome job on that stuff. It's just, to me, the only hang up I have is that they take an exceedingly long time to get their final release done. And in doing so, the people that are running the beta right now, are trying to successfully run the beta, are just beating the crap out of elementary as a whole. And it's so unfair. I mean, there are some people that have done very objective reviews because they know it's a beta, and I can appreciate that. But some people are, saying the same thing about elementary. But I liked it. In a little bit of time I ran it. I'm really looking forward to that. It's just, I'm probably not going to have enough time to do any serious distro hopping until, heck, after Labor Day at this point here in the States. I'm not even going to try.
Yeah,
my thought about the beta was really pretty, but you really can't change anything about elementary. I mean, you're kind of locked in.
I did test to make sure with the beta that you can go in and you can do those couple of command lines to get things unlocked and kind of unconstipated, so to say. And all of that worked just fine. Of course, the one hang up that most people have is you still can't work from the desktop. Elementary, however,
they disable all that.
Yep. The elementary, I don't think it was elementary proper, but one of the app devs that does a fair amount of work on a number of apps did create an app that allows you to place folders inside of essentially a container on the desktop. So the cool thing is that people that want to work off of the desktop will be able to. It's not going to be native to the desktop. It's running an app on top of the desktop that allows you to do it. But everything worked.
Right.
It was pretty skinny on some. It was skinny on some functionality, but I mean, heck, they were very upfront with that in their blog posts. They said, "Look, we got a long ways." Essentially,
there was nothing in the App Center, for example. There was like 60 programs total that you could install. So
all curated stuff, and the way that their blog posts kind of read, if you go between the lines, in my opinion, it was, "Hey, this is just a taste. We do have a long ways to go, and we appreciate you having a look at it. Just don't kick us in the private parts as we're trying to get it up and running."
Exactly. Well, they said, don't judge them, for people that are bloggers, journalists, YouTube reviewers, whatever. Don't take a look at this and beat them up on it. And I'm not going to beat them up on things that are beta functionality, or in a lot of cases actually more like alpha functionality. But some of the things I would criticize them on are things that have always been a problem. You know, for example, why are you still not allowing PPAs? You know, why are you disabling that functionality?
Right.
You know.
And for me, that when I ran it, I did throw a couple of PPAs at it after I got the unlocking done.
Why is there still not a minimize button? If you have window buttons at all, like close and maximize and all that, why is there not a minimize button anywhere on that?
Right. I agree, Derek. I mean, they should have to do that.
There is on the right-hand side.
Yeah, but that makes no sense to have all the buttons on one side of the window, and then you've got one all the way on the other side of the screen, especially if it's
the other side. Yep.
Yeah.
And again, that's another thing that people if they're going to run the distro, they have to get used to it. But if you do get the tweak tool installed, I think there's 4 or 5 different variants of window button layouts that you can choose from. But there again, like you said, Derek, it's the way that it is out of the box, and unless you know to unlock the PPA functionality, and unless you know to go out and grab the tweaks, which elementary is, they're way against the tweaks. They don't advertise it anywhere. You're not going to know.
I'm assuming they don't have Snapd installed by default either, do they? For Snap packages.
I didn't check. I don't do Snap hacks, Snap images. I don't do app I don't do Snap. I don't do app images or flat packs. I download everything right out of the repos, and there's, I think right now on 1604, I have two PPAs. Everything else is right out of the repos.
By the way, Tim, the way you said certain things, I didn't mean to laugh, but the way you said it made me laugh. However, I did want to ask this question to DT and some of the people that use Linux at open distro hoppers. Why do you like to try many different distros at different times? Like, what gives?
We try different distros because we can.
Yeah, it's just the freedom we have. I mean, this is why we left Windows.
That's the simplest, that's the simplest method to it. I mean,
basically in Linux, we have choices, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Linux is about choice. It's not, it's almost darn near impossible to stay on one distro for very long. Even and everybody else.
Did.
Each distro will teach you different aspects of Linux.
I managed to try out Fedora, and that I managed to jump to Debian, Fedora, Seduction. I jumped to different ones. But what I also wanted to point out is I really didn't think to be the one who, I like different distros, but some distros I can't burn to a flash drive. I tried with Etcher or some flat or DVD, CD, image, drive burning utilities, so I can't really, I don't have any blank disks to burn to, so I use a USB flash, but that didn't work for some distros that refuse to be burnt to a flash USB drive.
Some programs, some disk burning programs work on some distros, but not others. Like UNet bootin works great on Debian and Ubuntu-based distros. You will not get an Arch ISO to burn using UNet bootin. Etcher works great on almost every Linux distro I've tried. You cannot burn a Windows ISO with Etcher, and so forth and so on. It varies depending on what kind of program you're using.
I turn all my ISOs in Windows because there's a program in Windows called Rufus. That
I use that.
Will burn anything.
A little trick I came up with.
The DD command, burn the ISO. That will burn any ISO to any USB stick, the DD command.
Yeah.
And a little trick to use the DD command. Since I'm predominantly on Debian based stuff, you can go and grab the disk formatting and the burning utility from the packages page for Linux Mint, and you can throw that on any Debian distro.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And it works great. I've never ever had a problem using that utility, and I think you can even find, it's called Mint Stick, and I think you can even find it in the Arch user repository if I'm correct.
Yeah, you can. Yeah,
I don't think it's
called the package name for Mintstick and Arch is the Mintstick-git.
Okay.
When I tried in OpenSUSE is called SUSE Studio Image Writer. That's one I also tried for SUSE OpenSUSE images only, which worked. Burn OpenSUSE images to a flash drive.
Yeah.
That's the only one I tried that works perfectly.
I'm not sure if you can get MintStick in a RPM form.
But wait a minute.
I don't think so, no.
No.
There was a SUSE Studio Image Writer and one Arch-based distribution, I think is what it was I saw at one point.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
I think Chakra or some kind of Arch-based distribution had it in there.
William,
Yeah,
your mic.
somebody in the chat, excuse me, Mr. GFY in the chat mentions the USB stick formatter and the USB stick writer tools. Yeah, they work great. I've had really good luck with Etcher on every Linux ISO. Again, you're out of luck on Windows.
Your mileage
Tim, just so you know, I'm on my Android phone, so the audio settings is not much I can do with.
You may want to move it away from your.
Yeah, you're a little loud and it's distorting. Yeah.
You hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
That's perfect right there. That's good.
Okay.
How you doing tonight, Tim?
Not doing bad. Is that Ricky?
Yeah,
that's
Ricky.
Ricky.
Yeah, if you don't remember me from Toz Chat, I'm Yu-Gi-Oh! Master 88.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Doing good.
By
Nice
the
to see
way,
you.
yeah, guys. So sorry to interject, but Ricky, didn't I tell you that I was trying GNOME 2 on my Gen 2 setup?
Yeah, you told me that about
Well,
a day or two
unfortunately,
ago.
I got down to the last 2 packages, and you know, I just couldn't finish it. The panel, things like that. It would just not work. So I finally just gave up, said forget it.
So
I went to XFC and KDE and just left it alone.
So you couldn't get GNOME 2 to work.
I mean, honestly, it was more hell than it was worth.
I can understand that.
Well, GNOME 2 hasn't been developed since 2010 or 2011. Yeah.
2013.
Really? Because
Really?
GNOME 3 came out in 2011.
Yeah, well, you're right. You're right there. It hasn't been.
Okay.
It's
been dead a long time.
Why even
It's
screw
been
around?
dead 7 years.
Why even screw around with a desktop environment that has no commits to it in 6 or 7 years?
Yeah, and Mate was a fork of GNOME 2. So
especially GNOME 2. Grab Mate. You're going to have all the same underlying technology, but it's
or XFCE is pretty close. You can get
Yeah,
pretty close.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I got a question
Hey,
for
Derek,
Gaming Wolf.
you're not one to talk, Derek, considering you're the one that tried out Hannah Montana Linux.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I'm on Linux. That's right.
Yeah.
you know, it had its quirks, but it wasn't bad.
I have a question for Dreaming Wolf.
Sir.
Hey, I'm not familiar with you at all. It looks like you have quite a setup there around you. Do you have a YouTube channel that you publish to?
No.
You don't? Okay. Linux usage? You're this you're this kind of a Linux geek, or what's up?
I am self-taught. I've been playing on computer since '79 and on Linux distros since the early '90s.
And you're using right now?
The system's actually running Peppermint 9 at the moment.
Okay.
But I also have Cosmic Cuttlefish of Ubuntu Studio installed, Windows 10 Pro, Arco Linux KDE. Just depends on what disk I boot to.
Okay. Cool.
And you're doing the Arco KDE for
No,
Big Daddy?
that's just one of my
You're
favorite
just doing that on your own.
I always keep an Arch-based district up, and since Eric switched over from Arch Merge to Arco, I've been following those, and just it's so much easier just to install. Just dump them in and know it's going to run.
Now, do you do like the Arco Linux D where you pull those scripts down from GitHub, or which versions of Arco?
I've done that, but at this point, I'm doing enough distro hopping that it's just easier to take the B and drop.
Yeah, exactly. I did the same thing when I did the my BSPWM the other day. I didn't even go through the config files and edit anything. I just took it as Eric Dubois Minute, which means I got Chrome, Firefox, and Vivaldi all installed. 3 different browsers.
Wow.
Dude.
And if you ask Eric Dubois about that, the reason that's like that is because those are his actual config files. He uses all 3 browsers on his system. I don't know what he's doing with them. But
I would lose my brain trying to use 3 browsers at once.
Yeah, all right, Bremont.
Says the guy who wants to screw around with Gentoo and GNOME 2.
GNOME 2.
What's that got to do with anything?
Why are you going back to GNOME 2? You couldn't find rat poison in the repos anymore? Or?
No, it was. I just wanted to show that I could do it, and it wasn't that big failure.
Yeah.
That is really cool, Ben. I applaud you for it, but I'm going to say this. I'm going to say it, and please, no offense meant. Some of the things that you try to do, I applaud you for doing it because many people can learn from it. But in my case, I would rather go over to the stove, get a frying pan out of the underneath side of it, and repeatedly hit myself on my head with it instead of do the things you do.
Yeah.
I
understand.
Ben, in all seriousness, I applaud you for everything you do, okay?
And along that same line, somebody in the chat is asking everybody on the video call here, has any of us used Slackware? I know Ben is probably playing.
Yeah, Slackware is,
I knew Ben would.
Yeah, I have. It's not worth the trouble.
That's Breadmoth in the chat that asked that. By the way, Breadmoth, Sergey actually messaged me recently and asked if I ever wanted to do a live stream about Slackware. Maybe me and Sergey would do something on a live stream one day and do a Slackware install.
And Derek,
we're planning that for the future.
Derek, I am willing to be on that too if you need me, because I have ran Slackware off and on from time to time. So I do have some Slackware experience. So if you want me on the call, I can do that.
By the way, Ben and DT, I ran Slackware myself at version 1337 in the current version, Slackware current, but I had no idea how. I understand the packaging system a little bit, but I didn't really build my own package. I just installed from the repositories that were there.
DT, if you do that stream and you guys do the Slackware deal, awesome. I'll tune in and I'll bring my fry pan.
Well, you know what?
Yeah, I tried it once around 2000, and just the fact that you had to figure out all the dependencies.
The dependencies, that's the problem. Yeah.
So
when me and Sergey do this live stream, I can install Slackware in a VM, no problem. The install is going to go fine. Now, once we get it up and running, I'm going to be like, okay, Sergey, show them how to use the package manager. Oh, wait, there isn't one.
Yeah.
By the way, DT,
that's why I want to be there, Derek, because I do know some things about how to get this stuff working. So.
Is there a Slackware-based derivative that a user like me,
like an easy Slackware?
Yeah.
Salix OS. Have you tried Salix?
Yeah, Salix is one.
SlackL is another one.
I should say there is a like a, what is it called? There is a synaptic like
G-slapped.
Yes, they do have G-slapped, which is kind of like synaptic for Slack. Basically, that's the way to look at it.
Okay.
I tried out the slapped git and G-slapped and Slack PKG. I tried those tools and they worked. I just couldn't understand how Slackware is using a compressed binary like a tar.exe or something like that. When Debian uses .deb, as I looked at it, I was like, what in the world? It's different. I mean, .deb is Debian, which is easy to recognize, but Slackware is not.
I get your point, Will. Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing at the same time, just because I was thinking, just because it's 2 different package managers doesn't mean it should be any different. You know what I'm saying?
There's a bunch of people answering in the chat. I just looked on DistroWatch, and per DistroWatch, based on Slackware, you've got Porteus, Absolute Linux, Austrium, Vector Linux, Zenwalk, Salix, And
yeah, there's a lot of different distros based on Slack, but
I've actually used ZenWalk.
But wait a minute, Tim. But Slackware's been kind of dormant. They haven't been using.
Yeah.
They haven't been really producing any kind of new versions or any new software in it.
yeah,
Yeah, that version 13.37 you mentioned, that came out a long time ago.
And they're still on 14 point something, but they're still dormant on 14 point something.
Yeah.
well, okay, you know what? Just to help everybody out, and to give a better understanding of Slackware, I'm about to just say to heck with it and make some kind of tutorial or something on full setup of Slackware, like I did with JD Linux, just to make it so that, you know, just to address all these questions.
He's about to hop again. That's what's about to
Yeah,
happen.
No, I'm not gonna hop. I'm gonna put it on a different laptop.
You're gonna hop, he's gonna jog.
you know,
Hello,
the most-
Matthew.
Slackware with GNOME 2. That'll be
Matthew, who?
That'd be interesting.
Matthew Lee. In Hot Percolator.
Yeah.
you're really hot again, William.
Yeah.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah.
And Matthew, I don't know if your audio is
Sorry
working.
about that.
It's just like feedbacking really hard and loud.
Yeah, you're just way too close to the microphone on your phone.
Yeah. that's-
Sorry, my.
Hi, I've got a question about arts and OpenSUSE.
Matt, can you possibly turn up your microphone? It's kind of hard to hear you. Sorry.
I think that was Edwin. Yeah.
Can y'all hear me fine?
Oh, wow, Matt. There's
Can y'all hear me okay?
I think Edwin was trying to ask a
Yeah,
question.
Edwin was the one asking the question, and his mic was a little low. That's who
Yeah.
was up.
Edwin, you,
Okay, go ahead.
Edwin, you have the floor.
Hold on just a second. Let me mute Matthew. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, Matt, you need to get some headphones or something in because there was a lot of
A lot of noise. Yeah.
a lot of noise coming from you.
Edwin had a question. Let's give him the floor.
All right. Okay, I've dabbled with Arch distros, and they all have the problem of a rolling release, and you never know when it's going to crash on you.
Yeah.
So I've looked at OpenSUSE the last couple of days, and it seems to be a viable alternative. What they have is what's called OpenSUSE Snapshots. They've got 50 snapshots of the repositories, and they seem to be curated. So you can select, you can wait a little bit, and then select one of these snapshots you know are good. They rate the snapshots, so if people have trouble with it, you can bypass a snapshot. So it seems to solve a lot of the problems of a rolling release. Now, I haven't had a chance to look into it in detail, just came across it last night, but it might solve the
These
problem.
snapshots, they just sound like they're like daily builds of the ISO.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
OpenSUSE Leap puts out a snapshot every couple months. It's not a daily build.
Yeah.
The daily
they just
Tumbleweed.
Tumbleweed is the one he's probably seeing that's releasing a lot of.
But
daily
that's
builds.
they consider that a rolling release. If they want
Right.
something more stable, you should go with Leap.
With Leap, yeah.
No, but it solves the problem of having a rolling release.
Yeah. And I can tell you from my experience, if you find Arch unstable, you're going to find OpenSUSE Tumbleweed unstable too. I mean, you're going to have.
Yeah,
things
that's
breaking.
the truth. I mean,
If you're going to do
you're
an
on SUSE, you got to be prepared for that. That's the problem.
Can I see something? I wanted to point out that I did try OpenSUSE Tumbleweed, and then I also faced some issues as well. I need to point out. I'm rather used to using a stable Linux. It doesn't roll. It doesn't upgrade often. It stays solidly stable for however long the developer supported for a new version is out. I'm used to having things up to date, like Debian, as I mentioned before. I wish they'd stop using Firefox ESR and put Firefox Quantum in the stable version immediately and not sit there and just leave ESR out. Like leave ESR out.
Yeah, I can see that.
Edwin, one of the things you may want to look into if you've seen what you like from a user perspective. I'm not a tech head like a lot of the guys on here are. From a user perspective, OpenSUSE, like Dreaming Wolf and DT had said, and Ben and William have said, the Tumbleweed version is going to have the snapshots, and they're building on that thing constantly. It's really cutting edge so far as package releases are. OpenSUSE Leap as Dreaming Wolf said, good alternative. From a user perspective, if you want to install OpenSUSE, something that's derived from it that has all your media codecs and everything else in it, take a look at Gecko Linux.
Yes.
The guy who puts together, or the couple of guys who put together Gecko Linux, in my opinion, do an excellent job getting OpenSUSE ready for just the run-of-the-mill desktop user.
Yes.
They do a really good job. Once you get it installed, you can throw a DVD into your slot and you can watch it. You can get you can pull all of your MP3s in. You can listen to them. It's a really well put together distribution. Plus,
if you want an RPM, distro that's kind of rolling release, but not, it's quasi rolling release. It's not bleeding edge. I'm sure Alistair would tell you PC Linux OS. It's not a bad option. Yeah.
Yep. Another good one.
I mean,
I agree about Gecko. It is excellent.
Gecko is good, and it's got a bunch of different desktop environments.
Yes.
I mean, he's got Budgie. I think he's got Budgie. He's got just about everything except, I think.
Yeah, it comes with like 8 different desktop environments.
I think about the only major one he doesn't have right now is Deepin. I don't think he has a Deepin.
But he's not missing much there.
I will say that I will attest to saying that I've used PC Linux OS once back in like a couple of years. I think I last used it 2013 when KD4 was still relevant, unlike now. But it was, and I didn't really know how to use it because it was RPM, and I'm not very familiar with RPM to this day. But I will say that RPMs are not as hard as they make them out to be. And, but the point is, I agree with Tim that if you want something really familiar, really easy, SUSE is not the way to go. You can go to Leap, which is somewhat easy, but not really getting way to go.
My question, DistroTube, I got a question.
Okay.
Do you think Linux Deepin is spyware? Because according to QuidsUp and Switch to Linux, they're saying it spies on people, but any kind of Linux OS can spy on people, not just those particular one.
Well, I wouldn't call it spyware. It's it's got some web analytics to their software center, because their software center is basically a website. It connects to the web.
And
it's basically a front end to a website. So
you have to take this stuff in context, guys.
Right.
When I can understand, from a user perspective, I'm concerned about my privacy. Don't get me wrong. But you know what? If you have a Linux distribution that is going out and it is providing information out, be able to get information and packages in, you can't really say that is spyware. Is Deepin digging into my home directory in any way, shape, or form? No, it's not.
Yeah. And here's the thing. If you're really that concerned about it, do you even have to use the Deepin Software Center? No. You can install things with the command line or install some other GUI package manager. If you're worried about,
and Tim, I wanted to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt, but I take Switch to Linux's concerns with a grain of salt because he thinks it's spying, but then again, he forgets that Debian's popularity contest package upon installation asks, do you want to use the Debian popcon package to let Debian know what packages are popular to put in the next distribution?
That's, you know what, that is a fallacy. In my mind, that's a fallacy, because you know what, anytime, if I don't use a software manager, and if I simply use Synaptic, which is generally what I use, I don't use GNOME software. I don't like it. It's slow. It's unresponsive. When I go and I download something out of Synaptic, the package maintainers are going to know how often that is being downloaded. They're going to know that no matter what package manager you use, how often their repo is being hit to pull that package down.
That's true.
So, it doesn't make any difference whether or not you have this beautiful package in front, this beautiful GUI in front of you that is phoning back some information saying this is what this person is using. Or if you jump onto Synaptic, or even a command line for that for that instance, and you pull something out of the repos, people are going to know how popular things are by the number of times it's downloaded. If we think that the package maintainers are not recording that information, we're trying to fool ourselves. Period. At the end of the day, we're being oblivious.
But Tim, I also want to point that to me, I have issues with how people say that how, for example, I have issues with switch to Linux, how he's saying that Linux deepen is spyware, when in reality, however, I take his complaints with a grain of salt, largely due to because people can't say that certain things in Linux spy on you, even though they're not digging into anything in your system. They're just collecting on what packages you use. But Switch to Linux forgets that there's a Debian popularity contest package that also asks you on install if you want to use it. If you want to use it,
that's not spyware, William.
That's
asking me what programs are installed on my system. That is, and me giving permission. That's not spyware. Spyware is them filtering through all my personal data.
Yes,
that's spyware. Them
exactly.
Checking my emails. That's spyware. Logging my IP address, location. That's spyware.
Them reading your personal. Basically, what he's trying to say, Will, is that
if they want to run, DMESG on my computer and get all my hardware information, that's not really spyware if I gave them permission to do that. I mean, that's just, they want to know, what CPU or GPU I'm running, what kernel I'm running. Did I take the updates when they were available to me in the installer or what have you?
Yep.
That's not spyware if I gave them permission to do it.
And from a user perspective, when I install something on my machine, from a user perspective, I do not consider it spyware unless it is first and foremost doing something nefarious that I don't know about, and it's not spelled out in some type of an agreement or some type of a README file.
And Alan Lewis in the chat mentions, they're not logging IPs, but they know your time zone because you have to set the time zone. Yes, they know I am in the central time zone somewhere in the U.S. They know I'm one of, 100 million people. I have no idea exactly where I'm at or who I'm at. So
I think a lot of the people are having issues with Deepin because it's sending the information to China.
Right. That's the problem. It's the country of origin.
Right.
Yeah. It's not the information. It's that it's a Chinese-based distro, and people are wary of Chinese-based distros and Russian-based distros.
I'm not going to get jacked up with any distro as long as it's up front with me and tells me what it wants and why it wants it. And
anytime you bring up Deepin or anytime you bring up Rosa, the Russian distro, people immediately claim it's spyware and that the government's spying on you just because it's the country of origin, but it's all open source software. It's all GPL licensed. Anybody can look through the code. If there's anything crazy there, somebody's going to see it.
And you know what?
Guys, I have to drop. Talk to you later.
All right. See you, Ben.
And you know what? Quids Up in his video does have. Did he find legitimate things happening? Yes, he did. I don't question his technical ability whatsoever. I think he's a pretty bright guy, to be quite frank.
But I question Switch to Linux is, Switch to Linux is not a bad person. I'm just saying some of his claims are a little bit overkill. I mean,
are you talking about Switch to Linux, or are you talking about Quids Up?
Switch to Linux, but not Quids Up.
Okay. I don't know. I didn't know Switch to Linux had done anything with Deepin.
He's actually made a video saying that it's spyware, but I was like, it's not collecting impersonal information. I mean, I understand it's not. I understand it's reporting back to China, but it's not gathering what your name is, your last name. I mean, can someone make a clarification on that?
Well, if
it's not going into your home folder, and looking at your files, it's not spyware.
Every single doesn't. I would tend to say, how many people do we have on the chat right now? 9 or 10 people.
Yeah.
I think we probably would have, with some commonality, but across all of us, we would have different definitions with a little bit of baseline commonality. And for me, it just kind of seems.
Can you repeat that again? Because your voice kind of dropped out.
You dropped out for a second there, Tim.
So, sorry about that.
No,
all of us on the chat have a baseline commonality as to what we see as privacy issues.
Right.
And there's 9 or 10 of us here that are going to have a different opinion as to what spyware is. But at the end of the day, spyware is what it says. It comes in, It takes information from you without you knowing, and then sends it off to somewhere. And we're talking about information that goes beyond things like time zones, or let's just say the version of the distro that I'm running, or the kernel that I'm running. We're talking about information that is personal to you that nobody else would have. That is my definition of spying.
By the way, Tim, in DistroTube, I've been spied on by scammers inadvertently once, to point out.
Any one of us.
I mean, that can happen to anybody if you're not careful. I mean, that's...
You visit the wrong website, you click on on an ad, or you do something.
Yeah, there's nefarious people out there, but the creators of the distro I'm running, I don't think they're nefarious. If I thought they were, I wouldn't run their distro. I have to trust them. They have root access over my entire system. I have to trust them. You know,
the only thing that Deepin did wrong, in my opinion, the only thing that Deepin did wrong is not understanding that there are a bunch of people like the Quids Up, or the Switch to Linux, or the DistroTubes. There's people out there using Linux that go way beyond many of our skills, especially mine. They didn't understand that somebody somewhere somehow would take a look at the distro simply because of the country of origin and find out that there is something bleeding back to a website somewhere. They didn't count on that.
Well, the problem with Deepin, again, is that Software Center is basically a front end to a website.
Yeah.
And you're not going to have privacy on the web.
No.
I mean, ultimately, I mean, that's...
And our usage with the packages we download and we put on our machines, if you want to if you want to say that there's a privacy issue there is. Because the maintainers of wherever I pull my packages from, they keep a metric of how often it's been downloaded, and I'm one of those clicks. You're never going to win. If you're concerned about spyware, if you're concerned about malware, if you're concerned about any privacy issues, you shouldn't have one of these machines sitting in front of you. End of story.
By the way, all web servers do have logging. They have to have logging so they know when they're being bashed and who by. So yeah, we do have IP addresses, but we don't do anything with them. We just note that there's one IP address seeming to be having a lot of bandwidth trying to bring us down, and we just block that IP.
Yep. Right. I mean, ultimately, though, if you don't trust the creators of the distro you're running, just switch to a different one. Yeah, just switch to a different one.
Absolutely.
And if you want to talk about Deepin, Quids Up did do a follow-up video. Yeah, and the one that he did do, if you're in love with the Deepin desktop environment, run over to the Manjaro website, grab the Manjaro Deepin version. It's community maintained. They've got a couple of really good folks working on it from what I've read. Run over there and grab that, because Quids Up, if you want to base your computing life on what Quids Up has to say, Manjaro Deepin doesn't phone home.
Right, not even the App Store does.
Nope.
My biggest question is, hold on for a second. So Deepin also makes a desktop environment and a distro of its own?
Yeah.
Deepin.
I didn't know that. I thought it was two separate things not owned by the same thing.
No, and of course the Manjaro Deepin Software Center is not going to connect to the same site as the Deepin one, because Deepin's Deb-based, Manjaro's Arch-based, so they're not pulling the same packages or anything.
When Deepin first began back, I think it would have been like version 12 something. That's when they actually brought or put the desktop environment out separately. I think they maintained it on GitHub, if I'm correct. But no, the Deepin desktop environment is part of the Deepin or Deepin Technologies, whatever the name of the company is. They develop it, but the Deepin desktop environment, you can grab a PPA and you can, I think, with some marginal success, get it on many different distributions that are out there.
Yep.
Yeah, you can get it on all the Arch-based distros. You can get it, of course, on Ubuntu and Debian-based distros, because Deepin is Ubuntu-based.
When Quids Up last video came out, when was it, like 6 months ago? The first one.
Deepin's Debian-based now. They used to be Ubuntu-based. Now they switched. Yeah.
When Quids Up first video came out, like what, 4, 5, 6 months ago? I can't remember when. It was the first Deepin.
Yeah, it was a couple months back. Yeah, it was a little while.
I had started reading into it, because I'm this curious guy, and I had tripped across somebody who had Deepin up and running on Fedora, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, it's all open source software. Somebody can take, their packages if they want to repackage them for Fedoras. People are free to do that.
He probably just used Alien.
Yep.
Distro keeping
The package Alien.
is only
What was that, Alistair?
I was just saying you probably used Alien on the dev package to convert it from a Debian to an RPM and then install it that way. That'd be the quickest way.
Yeah, if you want a good Debian experience, I would use a Deepin experience. Like you said, grab Deepin and get the PPA and throw the Deepin desktop on.
Yep.
My biggest question for DistroTube is, what do you think about Switch to Linux? He's a great person and all. I just can't really understand some of the claims he makes too very well. I can't really understand his definition of it that much. I can only understand a little bit.
Well, you would have to ask him about his definitions of things. I watch a lot of Tom's stuff, but I didn't watch his Deepin stuff. But he's big into privacy and security. I mean, he gets excited about that stuff a lot more than I do. So I could see how he would jump all over something like Deepin and the web analytics.
The one thing you will find from a user perspective.
Deepin right now.
Yeah, what was that, Kerwin? Your mic's low.
Sorry, I'm downloading Deepin Manjaro right now.
Okay.
Cool. The one thing with Tom over at Switch to Linux from a user perspective, there's a lot of things he talks about that are way beyond my technical ability or my want and my technical ability. But the one thing I can say, and the reason that I gravitate towards him, people like DT and some others out on YouTube, is the objectiveness. Tom may be strong in his opinions, like any of us can be, but he remains objective in doing it.
By the way, DistroTube, I'm not. It's not to say that I don't dislike Switch to Linux. It's just, again, he has his own opinions. I have my own. It's just I just think that he's more of a privacy focused person. His technical skills are a little bit better than mine. I focus on just how to mainly use Linux for everyday use, but not meant to learn about the privacy aspects of it. Unlike Windows,
I defer to other people as far as people that have more expertise in certain areas. When you look at all these Linux YouTube channels, all of us have certain strengths and weaknesses. Things that we are more knowledgeable about than others. And I can tell you right now, no YouTuber on as far as Linux YouTubers knows more about security than Quids Up. So I've got to give him credit for that. When he says Deepin is spyware, I do listen, and I do, it grabs my attention. But even after watching what Quids Up, had to say about Deepin, I'm still of the opinion it's a little overblown. I'm not saying that they shouldn't remove the analytics from the web software center. They should, but I'm not gonna create the sensational headlines Deepin as spyware. I think that is doing a disservice.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a disservice to the people that work on Deepin, to the people that contribute to the free and open source software that is Deepin. I think that's a little unfair to them.
Well, I give him the credit that in his follow-up videos, he did kind of back off of it's spyware.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he backtracked a little bit.
But DistroTube, but Switch to Linux should back off his video a little bit because they feel that he's doing the developers a little bit of disservice. I'm not saying Switch to Linux is being mean or harmful. It's just he's kind of blasting the developers for it when he knows that the developers could file a strike at him for harming them. They could if they wanted to.
No, I haven't watched that video. I really can't comment on that. So
that's what I'm saying.
I've watched the Quids Up video, so I can comment about Quids.
What I'm saying is, I saw Switch to Linux's video on it, and I was like, his video's okay and all. I just fear that developers may attack him if they felt like he's causing them harm. I just feel like developers could silence him and attack him over it.
Yeah, I don't know, Will. I don't think anybody else here has seen that video but you, so I don't think you're going to get an answer here today.
I don't
That's
think.
what I'm reporting on.
I don't think, part of the nice thing about the open source community, DT brought it up, is look, all of this stuff that we're doing is open source, and if I don't have the technical ability to know what's happening under the hood, so to say, somebody is.
Right.
And we are a very passionate community, and when things like this happen, you have to understand that the passion sometimes if you're a passionate human being, sometimes the passion outweighs maybe the right words that you're going to use, or the right, maybe the right premise in which you're going to present some subject material. And we have to take that with a grain of salt.
Right.
So far as Deepin is concerned, if you're that concerned about it, walk away from it. And I don't think any open source project is ever going to go after or somehow, try to damage a YouTuber. Have I seen, from a user's perspective, have I seen some spirited discussions between YouTubers and heads of distros? Yes, I have.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, that conversation is one of the some of those conversations, and a lot of those conversations outside of the ones that are this completely unruly, or this two people trying to have a jerk contest, who's the bigger jerk. Those conversations are what make our distros what they are today.
Yeah, I've done some videos on distros that were just horrible, in my opinion, that just did not work for me. I thought just were complete garbage. And I gave lists of critiques of what needed to be fixed. And you know what? The main devs of those distros, every single one of them, they get in touch with me and say, hey man, I really liked your video. I'm going to try to fix some of those issues. Every single one. I've never had a main dev of a distro come back and say, hey man, you don't know what you're talking about. Your video was garbage, And
I've seen some of those comments in some of your guys' videos.
Right.
The dev comes back, and what the worst thing that I think a dev can do from that's maintaining a distro, or trying to get especially trying to get a distro off the ground, is come back to a YouTuber and say, hey, you stupid SOB, you don't know what you're talking about. You're an idiot. You're a fool. I've seen a couple of those, but have I seen those distros, a year or 2 years down the road? No.
Yeah. It's like one of my favorite distros as far as the main dev of the distro. I've reviewed Redcore Linux on my channel like 3 times, and the first time I reviewed it, I was hard on that distro. It only had one mirror. It was slow. The lock screen wasn't good. It didn't work. You had to have a username and password for the live user. There were a lot of things I really criticized the guy. And the next time he released and I reviewed it again, he had fixed all those problems and actually messaged me, hey, I took a look at your previous video and I tried to fix those problems. Then I did my next video, had some more problems with it. The third time I reviewed it, he'd fixed those. Some other stuff crops up. But the devs like constructive criticism.
Yep.
That's what they're looking for. Actually, they don't want to be told they're doing a great job when they're not.
Yeah, and the sensible devs are going to take well spoken and well researched YouTube videos from guys like you, and they're going to take it to heart.
And somebody in the chat is asking me about my OS and Streamlabs. I'm not running Streamlabs. This is just OBS running in Manjaro Linux. The chat window you're seeing is the Zoom client. We're using Zoom video chat. I'm not sure what you're asking about Streamlabs. I'm not using it, so.
I have a question, DistroTube.
Yeah.
What are your honest thoughts that Microsoft, right after September 1st, they are going to basically kill all past versions of Skype, including the classic version that has been on Windows for so many years, and they are going to pretty much forcibly move everybody to Skype 8.0 when it releases.
I'm sorry, what was that about Skype? They're about to do an update?
Yeah, a big one. Skype 8.0. And
it's not going to be backwards compatible with...
No.
Okay.
And they're going to just kill everything prior.
Basically.
You know what? That's a Microsoft product for you. That's why I don't use Skype. That's why we're not all in Skype right now. That's why I use Zoom. It's not that, I'm sure Skype is a wonderful product and probably would do just as fine as what we're doing in Zoom. I don't like using Microsoft products. I don't know anything about the company behind Zoom, but I do know this. It's not Microsoft. That's
no.
My biggest question for DT is, what do you think about using? What do you think about the whole VirtualBox in Linux, like using VirtualBox on a Linux system rather than a Windows one? Like, what was your experience installing it in Linux versus a Windows one?
I've used VirtualBox in Windows and in Linux. Both work. You can install Linux VMs inside Windows. You can install a Windows VM inside Linux. Yeah, they both work equally well. I've never had any issues with VirtualBox in either Windows or Linux.
But by the way, DT, they had a drag and drop feature enabled on VirtualBox, kind of like what VMware Player does. VMware and Parallels Workstation, those two virtual machine products are drag and drop. But Oracle took the idea from VMware and Parallels, as Parallels and VMware came up with it first, which I've learned on my own. And second, the drag and drop feature in VirtualBox does not work. Like in VMware and Parallels Workstation, it works perfectly. But the Parallels Workstation was available for Windows and Linux, but Parallels, the company behind that product, discontinued its Windows and Linux counterparts and only supported the Mac version of it. They had a Windows and Linux counterpart, but they discontinued it later in 2014.
Well, William, I have never in my entire life owned a Mac, so any Mac user that wants to comment on Parallels, the floor is yours.
I'm talking about the Windows users and Mac, or Windows and Linux users, DT, and Mac.
I haven't used Windows in 10 years, William.
Parallels Workstation on Linux?
Parallels Workstation on Linux? No, I have no experience.
That was only available in 2012 and years before, but they pulled the plug in 2013, though. They discontinued the Linux version. I brought a Windows and Linux version before. I paid about $99 for it, and it was actually cheap. It gave me a professional license key to use in Linux and Windows, but it was all right. It's just it was just a bit convoluted and clunky. Unlike VirtualBox and VMware Player, not so complicated. But Parallels was a bit more clunky than that. It was like highly clunky. So I was like,
thank goodness I got rid of it in 2012. And
yeah, I was about to say, but it was only around a short time. I'm glad I didn't try it. So
they let you have a free trial of Parallels Workstation for Windows and Linux, but they just killed it after a while.
Well, we have really neat stuff in Linux. We have VirtualBox and VMware. We have KVM, you know, and all the front ends to that, like GNOME boxes, which I haven't tried, but a lot of people say good things about it.
GNOME boxes is actually pretty slick. I've actually
that's what I hear
recently.
But I can't get GNOME boxes to work on my hardware. I cannot get it to work. Period. No matter what I've tried. I tried it on a laptop at one point, it didn't work. I tried it on a desktop. I tried it on a laptop, it was more advanced, it didn't work. But VirtualBox worked for me. It's just, I really can use VirtualBox because it works beautifully. I just can't use VMware Player on the desktop I have now due to VMware Player is looking for a certain. And the fact that I'm glad that Parallels discontinued the workstation for Linux and Windows because that software was so old that it never got updated frequently like VirtualBox did.
Alistair, we have. It sounds like we have some feedback coming.
Feedback, yeah. There's something weird going on.
Me typing. I do apologise over that.
No, you're good.
So you use two physical computers to try out Linux on, but how come you haven't tried VirtualBox?
I'm not sure what the question is.
The question is for Tim is, have you ever thought of trying VirtualBox instead of using two physical computers?
I use VirtualBox all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody here has probably run VMs in VirtualBox before.
No, there's a misconception here. I want to make sure I get clear before if I come across a distro that I just want to take for a spin and just have some fun with, or for instance, Mint 19 when it came out, I'm a GNOME user. I like GNOME. I just do. So I downloaded Mint 19 into a VM and tried to install GNOME onto it, which I finally successfully did. Kind of broke things, but I successfully did it. Any distro that I would settle on for any period of time, I'll put it in a VirtualBox and I will mirror the host OS, the apps that I use in my host OS, in the VM, and I'll run dedicatedly off of a VM for a day or so.
Yeah.
And if things are, I have to understand there's going to be a performance hit, and I'm willing to live with that. But if things are working smoothly, not quickly, but smoothly,
if you got enough RAM, it's really not bad. I mean, it's,
by the way, DistroTube, I wanted to point out to you that there's a secret in VirtualBox. There's one secret feature that you never knew about, I think. There is a feature where you can shrink the hard disk image of your VM, but the feature does not yet work. It's in there in VirtualBox underneath the Virtual Media Manager, but you can't shrink the disks yet. If you try, it'll say it's not supported yet. But Oracle added it in, they just didn't really add it where it's fully functional. It'll pretend to shrink it, but it will say...
I've never actually looked for that feature, William. I've never had a disk that I wanted to shrink in VirtualBox. I have had disks that I wanted to make bigger, and that's pretty easy to do at the command line.
But you can't shrink but you really can't do the opposite on VirtualBox, even though VirtualBox put in a shrinking utility in there. They just hid it, and they never really fully made it implemented yet. So, I mean, I know you want to enlarge the virtual machine disks, DistroTube, but if you wanted to shrink them if you're running out of storage space in some cases, then the shrinking feature will not work. But VMware will let you shrink the virtual disks. The VirtualBox has that utility once again, but they didn't fully make it to where it can shrink and enlarge, just like VMware did.
For me, it's a simple thing is that with VirtualBox, I don't use that to really base my life, my computing life around. Exactly. I use that simply as nothing more than let's kick the tires.
Yep.
Let's see if things run smooth. Let's see if things are working as advertised. Let's say with a distro, and if I get that out of VirtualBox, then I'll go ahead and I'll install it on live hardware, on real hardware. But VirtualBox, William, what you're talking about, the enlarging and shrinking of the part of the disk image and everything else, I don't know if you're going to get a good answer, good buy-in from anybody here, because I don't think any of us use it that way.
Yeah, I mean, to live on something in a VM and, you know, need to shrink or enlarge the disk size, that's unusual. I mean, I've had to make them bigger a time or two, but just a very few times. And I've installed hundreds of VMs, and it's rare I need to change the disk size. So,
and
if you're running low on
the VM, I won't even try and shrink it. I'll just
create a new VM. Yeah, you just blow it away. Yeah.
But if you're running out of disk space, though, due to the large disks,
blow it away and create a new one.
Yeah, they're disposable. That's why I use a VM, is because it's disposable.
You could in the time that would take to try to figure out how to shrink the disk image.
Yeah, if you didn't already know and you had to go read a wiki, I can tell you now, it's going to take you 15 minutes to read the wiki and figure out what command to enter in the terminal. You can have most of these distros already reinstalled.
You could crap can that instance of the VM.
Right.
And you could reinstall a new one. Unless you have a room full of servers that you're doing a bunch of heavy virtualization on, I don't know why you would even be concerned about shrinking.
Tim and DT, I wanted to, sorry to interrupt both of you, but what I want to say is, let me point this out. I'm not talking about the command line. I'm talking about the graphical user interface. That's what I'm talking about only.
I
found that out on my own.
If I can do it in the command line, I don't need a graphical user interface, as long as the functionality exists.
DT, Tim, thanks for pointing that out. I'm just trying to let people know that I'm just trying to point out that that's just an announcement. I'm not expecting people to do that. I'm just saying, like, it's an announcement that it is there. It's just not fully implemented.
VirtualBox has a ton of really, really advanced features most people never get into, and a lot of those involve the command line. So,
well, I meant the graphical interface for those who don't know how to do the command line method.
Don't people? I mean, aren't there like people that are? This is just kind of out of my ear. As far as VirtualBox or virtual environments are concerned, I mean, aren't there people that are running server farms and things of that nature where they would spend just a huge amount of time in a virtual machine?
Correction, Tim. What I want to point out is for those who are not running a server farm. This won't apply to those who do server farming. It applies to those who do virtual machines just for testing things, like mainly for OSs.
Oh no, I get that, William. This is a newbie question. I'm asking, folks, why would people be in a virtual machine?
Yeah, people do run VMs on servers. If that's the question. Yeah.
Yes. That's okay.
Yeah, okay. And you can actually run VirtualBox headless, meaning on a server. There's no monitor connected to it. You connect, through SSH or whatever. And again, it's all command line because there's no GUI obviously on a server.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
And this is some of the functionality I was talking about with William, that there's a ton of stuff to VirtualBox most users never get into.
Yeah, the great thing about VirtualBox and virtualization
Set alarm 1 hour.
is that you can run so like 20 or 30 instances of
Set
an
alarm 1
operating
hour.
system at the same time on
Yes.
the one system.
Yeah.
Having 30 or so websites on the go at the same time. It's an excellent idea. But for us users running VirtualBox, yeah, as Tim said, it's to kick the tires, and if it works out well in a VM, there's a good chance it could work well on your real hardware as well, rather. So yeah.
Wait a minute, Tim. Sorry to interrupt. Tim, didn't you remember? Okay, on Toss's live stream chat before, I've had people comment me back at me saying that I should try out Debian on real hardware rather than a VM, like what Switch to Linux told me before. But I originally wanted to say that I just wanted to test things before I do try it on a real machine, just to avoid mistakes.
Well, that's what Tim was saying. That's what I often do. If I know I'm not going to run something on my main machine, I'm not going to reformat the drive. If I just want to take a look at something, like that elementary beta I was asking Tim about, I know I'm never going to install that elementary beta, which is really pre-alpha software. I'm not putting that on physical hardware. I know it's not going to work. I'm going to take a look at it in a VM.
My only motivation for putting it on real hardware is this, we were talking about why people, jump distros.
Right.
For me, it's just pure curiosity. And the reason I put the beta on my live hardware is because of all the issues I've had with 1804 based stuff.
Yeah.
I just
you were saying if the kernel worked for you.
Yeah, I just wanted to see
your hardware.
Oh hell! I just wanted to see if the Bluetooth would fire up. I wanted
to boot up. Huh?
Yeah, I wanted to make sure. Yeah, I wanted to make sure it would boot up, but I wanted to see if I could get my Bluetooth to work. The simple stuff that I, as a user, are concerned with in my everyday computing life. Yeah. I want the Bluetooth to work, and lo and behold, I was surprised. I was shocked as all get out. The elementary's beta, Bluetooth worked great for me.
Yeah.
It's all down to the kernel, I reckon. And the Bluetooth stack I Blue Man installed, and yeah, it's all good to go.
Yep.
And VirtualBox is so much better than it used to be. I mean, these VMs are so good now. When I first started using Linux and playing around in these VMs, to test out distros, it was hard to get some of these things up and running. Now, most distros, a lot of the developers, they test these things in VirtualBox ahead of time, make sure you can actually install them in a VM, where used to, they really didn't design these things to run in a VM.
And in the worst cases, once you fire it up in the VM, you install it in the VM, not just run the live environment, install it onto the VM. When the software manager comes up, it'll tell you, hey, there's some virtual kernels.
It'll have the guest edition,
and everything else, and they'll tell you
VirtualBox drivers that you need as far as the video and all. Yeah, all that's squared away, and
it's so much easier to do.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
In your opinion, is VirtualBox more robust on Linux, or is it more robust on Windows?
Is it a bust? I think VirtualBox is a fantastic program on either Windows or Linux. I don't use Windows. I haven't lived in Windows in 10 years. I have used VirtualBox on Windows, on some family computers and some work computers before. VirtualBox just works on Windows. It just works on Linux. I mean, they work almost exactly the same. The only difference is I've noticed on Windows 10 with VirtualBox, it doesn't like to install 64-bit Linux distros unless you go into the BIOS and enable some feature.
Virtualization technology.
Virtualization, yeah. Other than that, they're the same.
Where VirtualBox and VMware have kicked on now, because Intel and AMD have added the extra layer on their silicon to allow virtual machines to run at near native speeds in virtualization. But the difference between VirtualBox on Windows and Linux is nothing. You still have to enable for 64-bit the BT Plus and BTD for it to run.
Yeah, but everything else is the same. Yeah, you tick the same boxes when you're installing whatever.
The menus are the same. There's absolutely no difference.
Right.
And one OVA, you can make an OVA in Windows and just drop it straight into a Linux box. Not a problem whatsoever.
Yep.
And the vice versa is also true. It's total portability. It's excellent.
One of the comments that I said in Toss's channel a little while back is the beautiful thing about Linux is that it has one thing that Windows doesn't: growth and diversity when it comes to development of all these companies that Linux is operated on, and the operating systems that are manufactured.
Very true.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment here real quick.
Yes, sir.
I'm taking a look right now. We've got 67 people watching, and we've only got 40 thumbs up. You guys know
come on, get your thumbs up.
You guys know me.
Thank
Anytime I'm on one of these streams, I tell every one of you guys, it's one simple click. Give DT some love. Tell him thank you for having these. Give him a thumbs up, and if you can help him out, help support his channel.
Appreciate that, Tim. And just to let everybody in the chat know, I'll probably kill the stream here in a few minutes. We're approaching 2 hours here, so.
I wanted to give a shout out to DT and Tim and Dreaming Wolf and Ricky and Percolator WordTech Enterprises, Drone Flying, Allstair Izzard, or however you say his name, and Alan Lewis. A shout out to all y'all from me.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, William, sir, I have a question for you.
Okay.
And I'm just curious, what type of Linux system are you running as of right now?
I was running Debian, but I dual booted, but I had to fix an issue with the Windows side of things first. I had to ensure that Windows had plenty of partition left to do stuff with. I had Debian installed on one side of the drive, but I didn't want to shrink Windows down too small, otherwise it sits out of space due to the Debian side. So I had to go back in and erase the Debian side, give Windows a little bit more space, and reinstall it again to fix the issue, even though that if you shrink Windows too small, it won't have enough space to do anything it requires space to do. And nearly my PC games on my computer are 12, like from a gig to about 12 gigs, and it eats up a lot of space. So I had to kind of increase it a little bit. And Ricky, I dual booted because I didn't want to wipe Windows due to DRM, as I told DistroTube that most of my PC games use SecuROM or DRM anti-copy protection thingy. So to prevent issues, I had to leave it there. But however, Ricky, what distro do you run for your daily use?
Well, basically, just like you, the main machine I'm using right now to be in the stream is a dual boot machine. One side is Windows 10, the other is Peppermint 9.
And I use Debian 9, by the way, and I tried out Debian testing on my hardware, and it worked. I mean, one night I told Tim that I upgraded Debian testing. I trashed the system by upgrading, which broke nearly everything almost. And it somehow it worked. It only has like a good day, bad day thing, but things like that. And WordTech Enterprises, I have a question for you.
How you doing?
My question to you is, what distro do you use on a daily basis?
Oh, good question. So I'm kind of in between right now, but I did somewhat fall in love a little bit with Pop! OS now. I mean, you know, it is what it is, but
it's a solid choice.
Yeah, I like the layout of accessing the applications. I think it's real slick how it transitions, and of course everything's customizable. So but I don't know what I'm going to do on my new machine, so I'm kind of going back and forth a little bit. I definitely use Windows quite a bit as well, Mac OS, and so I just enjoy everything. I love all OS. Really.
That's the fun of hopping, though, is you never know what you're going to end up on, next. People ask me, what am I going to be running 6 months from now? I have absolutely no idea.
Sorry.
I'm so glad that I don't have time to just install stuff to have it break on me.
Right.
I have a question for multiple people, but one at a time, please. Starting off with, I will start with Dreaming Wolf. What is your What hardware do you use for your daily basis on your computer?
An Asus ROG motherboard, a 1080 Ti video card, an i7.
Yeah,
64 gigs of RAM. Basically overkill.
Yeah, everybody's jaws dropped when you said NVIDIA 1080 Ti because we all see the price tags on those things. And
wait, I'm not big into the video card guy. Everything that I have has integrated video, but Dreaming Wolf, did I hear you say correctly? 64 gig of RAM
on the motherboard, and then another 11 on the video card.
Yeah, of course that video card has a lot of video RAM.
So are you doing something like building a space shuttle out in your garage, or what's up?
It sounds like it's a Bitcoin mining machine is what it sounds like.
No, to be honest, a lot of guys like to do gaming. What I do for fun is I my disks and install and configure operating systems. That's
so you're not a gamer as such then.
I'll play a game for a couple hours and then it'll sit for months untouched. Because I'm wiping the operating system and rebuilding it.
Gotcha. But, I mean, these high-end video cards are good for other things other than gaming. They're good for rendering video. They're good for doing live streams like I'm doing. I mean, they have other uses other than just.
By the way, I wanted to ask. My biggest question is: do y'all ever use Bluetooth hardware by any chance?
No,
not on my computers. No.
One of the reasons why I don't use it is I really can't really afford it, and the setup I have right now is perfect for me. I use an HP computer, got a nice AMD graphics card in it, and it's got 8 gigabytes of RAM in it. This is all
nice. By the way, Ricky and DistroTube, I'm on an HP compact business-like desktop that has security, has over 10 USB ports on it. It's got Intel hardware, but it also has some business enterprise security guard features. Like I can lock out the USB ports, like disable all USB ports on it. I can disable, it has a trusted platform module. It's basically a business desktop with business like security features, some of them.
That's
but then again,
interesting.
But it's not like it's like this. I can have the computer turn itself on at a certain time automatically without pushing a power button. Hold on, let me put it on camera to show you. This desktop, if I turn around the other way, hold on.
Oh my, he's missing a shirt now.
Yeah. My room, I'm burning up. Sorry, my room is hot.
That's all fine.
Yeah, and turn the air conditioner on, William.
It's on. My air conditioner is running, but this computer right here is actually is the computer I'm talking about that has a feature. But it also has a LightScribe feature, which LightScribe does work in Linux right here, but that feature is no longer usable. This fan in the computer can be set to be very loud manually in the BIOS, but however, it has over 10 ports on it, but I really don't. But the problem is the computer wakes itself up sometimes on its own without me touching the button. I've had that happen once or twice with this thing. And it scares me like crazy sometimes. I'm like, the computer's shutting itself on. I'm like, I want to, the way I shut it down is I turn it off. I unplug the power cable down here, right here, just so it won't wake itself up on power off. But the computer has a wake on LAN feature that I can, through some kind of computer or signal, you can turn it on over the internet.
Yep.
But that feature's not useful in home environments. It's not that useful.
No.
Well, guys, we're coming up on 2 hours, so I'm going to go ahead and kill the stream. Before we go, let's have everybody, give a final word here. So, William, you got anything quick to say on our way out?
All I can say is thank you for enjoying DistroTube's live stream. Just donate on Patreon and support him.
Thank you, William. Dreaming Wolf.
Thank you all for the time, for the conversation. It's been great.
Yeah, it was fun. Alistair.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a great stream today. It's been informative, even from my point of view. It's been excellent.
Yeah, some interesting moments. So. Alan, you got any final thoughts?
Yeah, thanks for having us on, and thanks for live streaming.
All right. Thank you, Alan. Come back and see us. Tim, last word, sir.
Once again, DT, thanks again for everything that you do for your channel. All of us users out there that just want to gain some perspective in this world called Linux. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm happy to watch you, and thanks for letting me join.
Thank you, Tim. All right. Who else? We got Ricky.
All I gotta say is, and this is my very first live stream being in here with you. I appreciate what you've done for the Linux community. Keep doing what you're doing, and it's been a pleasure being in here.
Thanks, Ricky. Percolator, you got any final thoughts?
Really enjoy the stream.
All right. Thank you, sir. Come back and see us. And Ward Tech.
It's a first time, long time listener and first time speaker. So thank you, gentlemen, and everybody, ladies and gentlemen in the audience. Good to see you guys. Thanks for giving the thumbs up. It's gonna be dinner time for me. I gotta get something in my tummy. So.
What time is it there, Word Tech?
Well, I'm Pacific time in Vegas, but you know,
Derek,
I got things to do. So
did you hear what he called us?
Yeah.
Wartech called us gentlemen.
Oh yeah, that's unusual. That's the first time that's ever happened.
That was y'all.
We got
it, guys. Let me get to my final word here. Of course, my final word is a thanks to all my patrons. I need to do a special thanks to Ansem, David, Carlos, Chuck, Daniel, Brian, Leor, AK, Ron, Mr. Neely, Pops, Bart, Robert, Marcus, Dan, Mr. Smarty Pants, Swami, Ben, Humade, Keith, Dan, Mr. GFY, Michael, Tony, Bruno, David, Silvio, Omar, John, Carl, Greg, Christian, Rob, Matt, Mark, Tiedemann, First Stephen, Second Stephen, Third Stephen, Eduardo, Alex, Jake, Benjamin, Marcus, Interceptor, First Paul, Second Paul, John, and Tubella. You guys rock. You guys help make this show possible. Thank you guys for hanging out with me, and thanks for everybody in the chat too. Thanks, guys. Peace.
All right,
Take care, buddy.
Bye.
It's quite interesting, of course.